run out of beer, or that you're going to get too fat drinking beer? Because if you're going to keep doing it, the more you do, it's going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to be careful. The worst thing is, when I was doing mobile apps, people come, oh yeah, I want a mobile app. Well, what do you want it to do? Oh, I don't know. I just want a mobile app 'cause it sounds cool and stuff.
What's happened to Lagunitas in the UK? How come you can't get it anymore? I want answers now.
Probably because it's not that good.
Oh, I knew you'd say that.
But I just thought, yeah, I'll drink beer on the internet. That sounds like a good gig. And if I'm lucky, I might get some people send me beer for free, and so that's great.
And I have to ask, have you had beer for free? Today's episode of The Engaging Marketeer is going to be a bit of a strange one because all I'm going to be doing is talking about beer. I am a massive beer fan, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Martin Haley, who is Rockers Beer Reviews on YouTube. Martin drinks beer and talks about it and videos it and posts the videos and then does it again and then again and then again. And he has got hundreds and hundreds of videos on his YouTube channel just drinking and talking about beer. I am in awe of this man. He is living the dream. So let's see why Martin started to do that and just what the hell has this got to do with marketing? Trust me, there's a link. So, Martin, let's start with the most important thing to you and me. Let's start with beer.
Brilliant.
Start with the beer. You have set up a YouTube channel dedicated to videos of you drinking beer and talking about beer. What was other than obviously the drinking of the beer, what was the reason for you doing that?
Yeah, it's a tough gig, really. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but it all sort of started at the first lockdown after, in 2020. It was a case of I was at home, wanted to do something different. I sort of just discovered craft beer at that point, and I thought I should, and I started looking on the internet about other people talking about beer, and I thought, yeah, I could do that, and I thought, well, YouTube is something that I watch a lot, but I don't really know how it all works and everything. So I thought, well, this is the best way of doing it, and I thought, well, I can do it quite easily. In terms of a setup, I don't need to be, an expert videographer because I'm literally just sitting there. But I wanted to do something else. I thought, well, I'm really into rock music as well, so I wanted to bring that, and hence the name Rockers Beer Review, because I've sort of inherited. Well, I say inherited. I've had this nickname Rocker for many years since I was at university because. I met these people and they weren't into rock music, and they knew it. And I used to always turn up in my metal t-shirts, and they said, yeah, we'll call you Rocker from now on. And that sort of name stuck. And
so just because you were different to them and liked a different type of music to them, you were therefore
yeah,
Rocker.
and I had long hair at the time, and I looked like the nerdy rocker in my sort of teens, really, with a sort of scraggly, greasy hair and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And my fashion sense has not got better in 30 plus years. I still wear heavy metal t-shirts when I'm not working, sort of thing. So, nothing's changed on that front, and I still love the music. So I wanted to combine the beer and the rock music because in terms of the demographic, there's a lot of people that like craft beer that also like rock music. So, it went together pretty well.
Makes sense.
Sorry?
It makes sense. There's a lot of crossover there. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big crossover, and again, it was something that I wanted to do. I had no real sort of plan as such. I just thought, yeah, I'll drink beer on the internet. That sounds like a good gig. And if I'm lucky, I might get some people send me beer for free, and so that's great.
And I have to ask, have you had beer for free?
And I knew you'd ask, and I really would like to tell you that, breweries are knocking on my door and sending me beer, or the more beer that I can drink. I've had one case of beer sent to me from a brewery wanting me to review it, and it was non-alcoholic beer.
Oh.
And that's it.
Jeez.
I mean, you do get a lot of, I wouldn't call myself an influencer, but you get a lot of influencers contacting breweries and saying, oh, look, I could talk about your beer on the internet. If you could just send me, 10 of your best beers and I'll do a good review for you. And a lot of the breweries are going, no, we don't want to get involved in any of that anyway. So
Yeah.
Breweries are, the independent breweries that I review are always, are on the struggling, probably more so now than ever. So that they need that support, and I'm happy to do it because I'm going to drink the beer anyway. So I don't really go out of my way and drink beer that I know I'm not going to like. So most of my reviews are pretty positive, unless I'm reviewing beers that are maybe supermarket stuff that maybe I'm a little bit snobbish about.
Yeah, what you've mentioned there about influencers contacting breweries, they do that in all industries, don't they? They contact anyone from like a wedding photographer to a car company. Oh, give me one of those for free, and I'll put it on my podcast, I'll put it on my blog, or put it on my Insta. And it is a little irritating. I got involved in a big argument a few years ago with a tattooist in Ellesmere Port called Jay Hutton, who's on the Tattoo Fixers on the TV stuff. He did this post about wanting a photographer to photograph his wedding for free, and this photographer put a big post out about how it was really poor form for him to do that because he's a creative as well, being a tattooist. He shouldn't be asking a photographer to work for free because it's their livelihood. And I put a post on the Chester Bugle that if anybody wanted to go to Jay Hutton's tattoo parlour in Ellesmere Port, he was doing free tattoos so long as you put it on Instagram. And then I got a message from his team saying that if I didn't take that down, they'd sue me. But spoiler alert, they never did. So you're one of those people that's happy to pay for your own beer, buy your own beer. That's beautiful. But you mentioned the supermarket stuff you're not that keen on, but Polly's beer, your favourite, that can be found in supermarkets, can't it?
It can, and I have raved recently about their latest supermarket beer because the problem with supermarkets, and this is going into some of the economics of it. It's not, I'm quite interested in it, but in terms of supermarket beer, you get a lot of breweries like biggish sort of craft beer breweries. I'm thinking of like some, Tiny Rebel and Brewdog and Northern
Tiny Rebel,
Monk.
Tiny Rebel's round the corner from my old primary school.
Yeah, I knew that, and that's why I
literally like 400 or 500 feet away.
Words about Tiny Rebel.
I love Tiny Rebel. Yeah, I'd be quite happy to sponsor them if they wanted to, throw me beer.
Yeah, so the supermarket beers is the business of it is that that the supermarkets are squeezing these breweries in terms of their margins, so they can't make the quality beer that you'd pay £5 for in a bottle shop. When you're buying something for £3, there's going to be some sort of compromise, and usually it's the beers are not so good. So when it's a good beer or there isn't a compromise, then then it works well. And I think Polly's have got a little secret thing going on, and I hope this isn't diving into their sort of what I think they do is that they have a limited run in the supermarkets. People go, enjoy their beer, think this is great beer, it's great value for money, and they go back to the supermarket, and then of course you can't get it anymore because it's on a limited run, and so that makes you go and think, oh, I'll go and see what Polly's is all about, and you go on the internet, type in Polly's, find their website, and go, I might buy some of their beers from their bottle, their online web store, and then before you know it, you're a massive fan, and you've got a whole a bookcase full of empty Polly's beer bottles. So I think that works quite well on those bases, but I think a lot of the Tiny Rebels and the Brewdogs of the world are all about making beer for supermarkets to some extent. So their quality is lower because of that, So I'm a little bit. I'm Brewdog, and the free ones are Brewdog, Tiny Rebel to some extent, and Beavertown are the three that I'm not. They're probably I'm not a big fan of them because Beavertown aren't really craft because they're owned by Heineken. Brewdog, like to say that they're disruptors and they're marketing and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, they're still quite big corporate sort of business. They don't make small batch brews like what craft beer is actually all about, and so I'm a little bit. I can be a little bit critical of their stuff, really.
Brewdog, was actually originally they pitched for Dragon's Den, but they were turned down for going on it. So they didn't even get on in front of the Dragons. So someone's missed a massive opportunity there.
There's always plenty on Dragon's Den that that was going to make that went by and stuff and then made the business. So I think Brewdog's one of them.
I've never really considered what you were saying there, that there's a massive difference between beer that you would buy in the supermarket that's the same brand. Say, for example, Tiny Rebel, that's a can of Tiny Rebel in the supermarket. The big difference to what it would be to go into Tiny Rebel Brewery and getting bottles or getting it on draft there. How much of a difference is there?
Well, it's not necessarily. So if you look at something like Tiny Rebel and their say Club Tropica, for example, is a brand people know that. If you buy that anywhere, if you go to the Tiny Rebel or your supermarkets, it's the same beer. It's brewed mass and on a mass basis, and it's pretty much the same beer. But obviously, a lot of breweries will. There'll be a lot of Tiny Rebel beers that you won't find in the supermarkets, but you'll find if you go to Tiny Rebel, or you might find them in bottle shops. They do, they release lots of different stuff. They've just released
Right.
a rugby themed beers that are like, one's a Scotland beer, one's a in England beer, etc.,
Okay.
etc. But you won't find them in the supermarkets. But you'll probably realise they're better quality than the sort of stuff that you have in the supermarkets. You'll pay a bit more for them in the bottle shops, and they're probably made on a small run, and they're probably got more hops in them, and they're more expensive to make.
That makes a lot of
Whereas,
sense as well, actually, because Tiny Rebel, as well as their brewery in Newport, they've got a Tiny Rebel bar in Cardiff, which is literally a stone's throw from the Principality Stadium, where the Six Nations obviously is kicking off this weekend. So that makes a good lot of sense for them to have that
yeah,
beer in
I
there.
mean they're great. I think that a lot of these breweries, you've got to, obviously you and I are both working in marketing. You got to appreciate the marketing that these businesses go into, but you also know that is it all about the marketing and less about the quality of the products? Because
Yeah.
and I think BrewDog and Tiny Rebel are both guilty of this, or they should be applauded in one sense because their marketing is really spot on. But as soon as you drink their beer and then you drink other beer, you realise that the quality is not quite as good. It's all a bit style over substance, really. And as a craft, I don't want to say craft beer snob or craft beer connoisseur or someone who drinks a lot of craft beer. You can see quite clearly, or you can taste quite clearly the difference between a beer from those sort of breweries and a beer from, say, a very small brewery that makes quite a limited run of beer.
I've had a fair bit of pollies from, is it Beer Heroes in Chester?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're well distributed polys, which is a good thing in terms of bottle shops, tap rooms, and all that sort of stuff. But they're still very small. You compare Polly's, which is obviously in Mold, not far away from us, compared to the breweries, Tiny Rebels, and it's like night and day in terms of the size of the place. So they're making lots of beer, but in a very small runs of it. And they release lots of different stuff. They probably release 5 or 6 different beers a week. So, it's very small batch and it's all limited run, but it's all and each of the beers they release are all different. They have different hops in them. Some will be pale ale, some will be IPAs, double IPAs, triple IPAs, stouts, lagers, sour beers, all of those sort of styles. But it'll be small batch brewing, so it's a better quality product. I mean, you don't know these small brewers, they'll get big, and then because all these, even the likes of like Beavertown, before they were bought over by Heineken, they were sort of seen as quite a cutting edge brewery that made good beer. And then they sort of, as they needed to make lots of it, they had to, the whole process was different, really.
Yeah, no, I can see how the quality would be affected when you're having to scale everything up. It's the same in any business. The more you scale up, the more difficult it is to maintain the quality of what you're doing. Whereas if you're a sole craftsman building a table or doing something yourself, then obviously you're in control of it. It's your passion, it's your beauty, it's what you're making. Get other people involved, and very difficult to maintain the quality.
Yeah, but I always say that. So you've got the beers in the supermarkets, at a price point of say £3, £3.50 for a can, compared with a bottle shop where if you're buying an IPA, you'd be paying £5, £5.50 and higher. But the point is that the supermarket gets you into craft beer, and then exactly how it worked for me, and it worked with a lot of people into craft beer. They wanted to try something different than lager, for example, and they thought, "I will try some of these in the supermarket." they get the taste for it. They think, well, what else is out there? And then they find what else is out there, and then and then that's what they'll start drinking more of that sort of stuff, because they'll see the quality. So it's a good way of getting people into craft beer in the first place, in a supermarket setting, because it's, they've got massive distribution and people are going to go in the supermarkets to buy their food, so they're also going to buy the beer.
So with your YouTube channel, then you're basically drinking beer and reviewing it whilst also talking about rock music as well, because natural segue. How do you maintain the consistency of creating videos day after day, week after week? And are you worried that you're going to run out of beer, or that you're going to get too fat drinking beer? Because if you're going to keep doing it, the more you do, it's going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to be careful. But at the same time, people think, oh, you drink a lot of beer on the internet. It's like, well, actually, probably drink more beer that I don't review every beer I drink, for example. Obviously, when it comes to YouTube generally, I'm telling you this, but obviously your audience out there, everyone knows when it comes to social media, it's all about consistency. So the channel won't grow if you post one video a week, or one every couple of, one video every 2 weeks or something like that. It just, the channel will not grow. So you need to be consistent, and you need to sort of get, I try and do mine at least 3 or 4 times a week. There was a time, when I first started, I was posting every day. Some beer YouTubers, I've seen them post 2 or 3 reviews on a day. So they're posting a lot. And they probably are, every beer they drink, they do review. And, it gets to a point where, you have to sort of hold it back a little bit. But obviously, I might drink 2 or 3 beers on a Friday and 2 or 3 beers on a Saturday, but I'll record those, and then I'll just put them out over the course of the next week. So there's a nice consistent level of posting of new videos. And, at the end of the day, I'm not drinking huge amounts of beer. But saying that, some of the beers I drink are like double IPAs, 8%. So you're not going to be drinking many of those on a night anyway. So it sort of works out well. But I don't think, in terms of running out of beer, that's a thing. If anything, there's too much beer and not enough money to be able to buy it all, and not enough time to drink it all. So if anything, I could drink more. I could dedicate my life to it. But yeah, you don't see a YouTube beer reviewer over the years that is suddenly getting slimmer. That's definitely a fact.
I just think you're saying some of them doing 2 or 3 a night. You're not going to get to the stage where I think there was a fast show sketch with the guy that's just really drunk while he's talking. There was a Hale and Pace sketch many years ago, if you remember that, where he was reviewing holidays, enjoying the fabulous hospitality, and just getting pissed.
Oh, yes, I remember that one, yeah.
They ended up throwing him out of the restaurant at the end of the night. You're not worried that at any point you're going to end up doing a beer review like that? I fucking love this beer, it's brilliant, and then just collapse or something?
I have done that in the past. In the early sort of period, I did get to the point where I did 2 or 3 beers, or I just thought, yeah, I'll just wing it. And to be honest, the reviews are better that way. They're a little bit more free flowing, a little bit more flamboyant. You've got to really, and I see other people get to the point where, that this review is not the first beer of the evening. One thing that people say to me, what's the biggest problem about drinking beer on the internet? And I tell you, this is the situation, is that when you open your fridge, you don't want to do a review, you just want to have a beer, or you've had 2 or 3 beers and you just want another one, but you think, yeah, I'm not going to review this one because I've had a couple of beers. You open your fridge and you've got loads of beer in there, but you think, I can't drink any of these beers because I want to review all of these. And you're literally sitting there going, I've got to either review it, or I can't review that beer and I'm just going to drink it. So that's always the problem that you have as a beer reviewer. You've got beer in the fridge, but you feel that you can't drink it unless you're going to review it.
So are you making a conscious decision then that every beer you buy is effectively a different beer that you've not had before? So they're all different in your fridge?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the only probably time where I would buy a beer and drink it multiple times will be a supermarket beer, because I'm in the supermarket, or they're cheaper. But generally speaking, I don't think I've really drank the same beer from a bottle shop twice. Very, very rarely. One, because, the nature of craft beer is that a brewery will release some beers over a week, and then because it's a small run, if you want that beer a month later, tough, you can't get it because it's either sold out in the bottle shops and the brewery aren't making it anymore. Only if there's certain beers where they might re-brew it every year, but there's so much beer that's being released and so many breweries, and I'm just talking about UK breweries here, really. It's not as if I'm looking at worldwide craft beer. I'm just talking about UK breweries, that there's so much beer being released that you can't possibly drink it all, and so you drink new stuff. And to be honest, that's one of the big loves of why I love craft beer, because every beer is different. It's exciting. I mean, yes, you can look at styles like, I'm a big fan of New England IPAs. You have one New England IPA and another one; they can be quite similar, but again, you have a different combination of hops. You'll get slightly different flavors. There's still a lot to enjoy, and a lot of it's all about the new stuff. I'm very much into trying new stuff all the time. So that's how it works for me, really.
See, I do drink a lot of the same beer again and again because I'm worried that I'd get a beer that I really wouldn't like, and I have had that a couple of times. So, and I also try and match beers to the occasion. So, for example, it's the Super Bowl next weekend. When by the time this podcast goes out, it'll have been and gone, and probably the 49ers will have lost. But I try to drink American beers for the Super Bowl, because I like to keep in with that. And there's a particular American beer I like, which has become mass market, Lagunitas IPA. Yeah. But I can't find the bloody thing anywhere in the shops now. It all seems to have disappeared. And there's no way it was a short run and gone. So you're the beer man. What's happened to Lagunitas in the UK? How come you can't get it anymore? I want answers now.
Probably because it's not that good.
Oh, I knew you'd say that. I mean, well, you're not a craft ale snob, are you? You're not a craft ale snob.
You'd probably, and that's the sort of thing that you get on the sort of beer, the beer hawk stuff, beer pump, in a.
You can get it on a blade.
On a blade, that's it.
Blade machine, yeah. Yeah, but I'm trying not to buy that because that's about 12 pints, and I don't really want 12 pints of the damn thing. I just want, like 8 or 9 bottles, and that'll be enough for the Super Bowl.
You don't have to drink it all on the same night,
I know.
I have no idea why that's not. I mean, again, it could be a case of that. I mean, we've had an issue where over a number of years, but obviously Brexit being I don't bring politics into talking about beer, but you used to be able to get much, the importing beers was a lot easier to do, and American beers, I mean, obviously that's not a Brexit thing, but the whole import tax of a lot of those beers is quite high. That it gets to a point where they think, well, we've got to charge more and people aren't going to pay it anymore. I mean, you can buy if I buy US craft beer from a top craft beer brewery in the US, and I'm thinking like there's likes of Trillium or Monkish, those sort of breweries, you can pay 12 quid for 1 can of beer. Now,
wow,
you've got to be really into craft beer and have a good income to be able to warrant spending 12 quid on a 400 or 483 ml, which is the US pint they usually come in. Can of beer. It's a lot of money, and you're paying that because of the import tax. So I would have thought that's a big thing as well. We don't seem to get as many craft beers from Europe as we used to. Because again, it's expensive to bring it in, and people, if you're going to buy a UK craft beer and pay a £5, or you're going to buy a beer with similar sort of hops and brewed in a similar way, but it's £7.50, you're still going to get people going for the cheaper one. So that's the big thing when it comes to beer. I mean, again, when it comes to sort of pricing and politics, you see that those big brewers now are lowering the ABV of their beers, and it's like, they're coming out now with the. Sorry.
I've noticed that, yeah.
And it's crazy that their narrative is, UK buyers don't want to drink high ABV beers. Well, it's absolute rubbish. What it's about is the fact that they can make much more profits because of the way that the duty tax thresholds are now. So, where you're getting maybe a 3.8% beer, they go, we can give it 3.4%. And we won't make a big deal out of it, but people will continue buying it for the same price, but their duty on it is much lower. And so the big organisations, the big global beer makers are saving millions of pounds on that. even though and they say, oh yeah, people want low ABV. You go to a bottle shop and the guy in there will tell you everyone wants double IPAs and they want triple IPAs at
Yeah,
8% to 10%.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what you were talking about the price there, was it £12 something for a can? I think that's I've paid more than that once for a beer, but that was in Norway, in Oslo, where their currency is so high that it costs you a fortune for anything. And I've always remembered it wasn't even a full pint because they do the sort of schooner size,
Oh,
and the
right,
beer
yeah.
was 13 quid. It worked out as, and it was called Liquid Sex Robot. If you're going
It's
to
a
name
cool
a beer,
name.
exactly, you name a beer. Obviously, I was dragged in by that. 13 quid. I've not forgotten that bloody name ever since then. And it's interesting what you said as well about the ABVs and the fact that the tax is higher depending on the higher the volume. Because I met a guy a few years ago in Chester who was brewing beer himself in one of the lockups. So he had like in the Arches somewhere, and he was brewing Transformers themed beer. So we had one called Optimus Prime, which was an oat beer based on Optimus Prime, and there was a really strong, I think it was a double IPA called Instruments of Destruction, which is a heavy metal song from Transformers the movie by the band NRG, if you've heard of them from the 80s. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tested metal knowledge, but they're probably not a proper metal band anyway. But he ended up stopping brewing beer because he just wasn't making any money doing it, even though he was bloody brilliant at it. Ended up taking over the bar in Chester. It was called Cash at the time with a K. It's now the Diva Tap now.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So lovely beer that now no longer exists because small brewers, they just can't afford to do it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and all of these beers that breweries are, every week you hear of a new brewery going out of business, and even ones that you think, well, if there's a brewery that isn't going to go out of business. Recently, there's a brewery called North. They're based up in Leeds, and they're obviously they're in supermarkets. They do lots of beer. They've been going around, and they were close to close to being liquidated. But someone's bought them out. Actually, from another brewery has bought them out. And so even the bigger ones, because ultimately what it comes down to is that it costs a lot of money to make beer. Obviously, the most of hops are coming from America, so obviously there's an expense from there because a lot of these new modern craft beers are using either US hops or Australian and New Zealand hops. And obviously there's a lot of with obviously the things that are going on in the Suez Canal. The transport costs are more expensive. But the biggest thing is obviously it uses a lot of electricity to make beer, and that is causing that's causing a lot of problems. I mean, you must speak to lots of businesses like I do, where 1 minute their energy bill is this, and then a month later it tripled or quadrupled. When you're talking of an energy bill of 10, 20 grand a month, and then suddenly it's 50 grand a month. That makes a big difference to your, being able to make beer and being able to sell it at a price that people will pay. So that's the problem. So it's a difficult game to get into if you're a one-man brewer hoping to make some money because it's difficult.
Yeah, you got to do it for the love, really. It's not for anything to make millions.
But obviously, if they're making Transformer-themed beers, I'm surprised that they met you. They met their ideal customer straight away. I would have thought that that was a match made in heaven.
Well, I bought everything. I bought everything they had, but they couldn't make it fast enough. It was in a couple of bars. It was in the Cross Keys pub in Chester, the one opposite the Bear and Billet. So they had it in there as well. So we got a bit of distribution, but unfortunately, just didn't last. Shame. I loved it. I bought his beer tap, his badges, though. I've got his badges knocking around here somewhere. The artwork was fantastic. So, with your channel, obviously you're creating, I think it's a couple of hundred videos you've got on there now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it must be. Yeah. I think it must be more than that. It must be.
I've
been doing it since 2020, and I think it's something like 190 videos on a year that I do. So.
Jesus. What's your reach with that, and what are your plans going forward? Where do you hope to take that channel?
Well, obviously, long-term plan, I hope to sort of drink beer on the internet as a full-time job and earn enough money to do so.
Wow.
I think it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. My channel has grown quite steadily. Obviously, you know that you've got to get 1,000 people and then a number of hours watched to become monetized. And I must admit, you know, the cost per the amount per 1,000 views that you get has come right down for some reason. I used to be around about £5 per 1,000. My last stats I was looking at was like £2 per 1,000. So my income has gone down from it. Not that it's massive. But if you look at
can I ask, is that per views or is that per hours viewed?
Yeah, per views.
Views.
So every 1,000 views, the sort of benchmark was always 1,000 views. You'd earn £5 if you were serving ads on your channel. But it does depend on obviously what you're doing. So if you're talking about business, like I know obviously your YouTube is on, you know, for BNI and then the business side of things, then it's going to serve better quality ads, and so the cost per 1,000 views is probably going to be higher. Again, if you've got a channel and all your viewers are based in the Philippines, your cost per ad is going to come down even lower, because advertisers don't want to put their adverts in front of people in, say, the Philippines. They'd rather put them in front of people in the UK. So the UK viewership that I've got is about 90% UK viewership. Is good, but obviously I'm drinking beer on the internet. I'm not talking about, you know, financial products or talking about business and sides like that. So the sort of ads that they put on there are probably, they're bidding not as much, basically. Yeah. But long term, I mean, I suppose long term, I'd always wanted to do something revolving around beer and music, and really the music side, which is, it's quite difficult. Because when I'm talking about beer, I just talk about beer. When I talk about music, I'm just talking about music, really. So I've done a lot of reviews about bands. I do a lot of album rankings, and actually my biggest views are always talking about heavy metal bands, basically. So I get more views from that than I do actually drinking beer. So long term, I probably should be doing more of that sort of stuff than drinking beer. But I've got, you know, obviously my viewership splits across those, but then I get people that are just into beer, and then I get other people that are just into the music side. And there's probably there's a lot of people obviously outside the UK that are more interested in some of the music that I talk about than they are the beer, which is more UK craft beer scene. But there are a couple of channels. The craft beer channel is one. Real Ale Craft Beer, been going a long time. But they've got, you know, the Real Ale Craft Beer. He pretty much does what I do, talks on the internet about beer, drinks beer. He's been doing it in 10 years. He's got something like 76,000 subscribers, and that is his full-time job. Certainly in lockdown, when the numbers really spiked, he was earning enough money for it to be his full-time job. So that is possible, but you've just got to be the best beer reviewer there is on the internet.
You just got to drink more beer, mate. You just got to drink more beer.
Got to put the beer drinking in. Yeah, that's it. I mean,
put the hours in.
Put the hours in. I mean, he usually releases 3 videos a day, and you get to the point where he's doing food stuff as well. You know, you think, I can't keep drinking beer all the time, because you start worrying that you're describing a beer and it's like, have I said all these things about another beer before? And you're repeating yourself. But there's a lot of people that will go on my channel and they comment on it and they'll say, oh, I've just bought that beer as well. I'm going to drink it while I watch you review it. On other people going, that sounds like a really cracking beer. I'm going to go out and buy that. So people are making buying decisions are based on what I'm saying. So hopefully there's some sort of, I've got some sort of empathy with people, and that they like the sort of beer that I like, and they believe in what I say about it and go, yeah, I'm going to go out and buy that beer. So that's how it works, really.
Have you looked at any affiliate potential actually with your beer reviews? Because if you've got all of that content, which very easily you could rip down as text as well. I don't know if you do that already, but it's all written out. It's got all the keywords already there. You could easily create a website specifically for beer reviews with your videos all embedded within it. Each one of those then with a buy link go into whatever supplier is willing to pay affiliate commissions for purchases. And the content's all there.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some affiliate stuff where with like online bottle shops that may have affiliate schemes. A lot of the breweries don't generally have them. because they want to get as much money as they can, really, in terms of being given, from affiliate links. But that's definitely an option. I think I would look at. I probably don't still have quite the if I've got. I think it's like anything. As soon as you get to a point where you're big enough and you are starting to make, you've got 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers and you're getting 500 to 1,000 views every video. Then there's certainly the volume there to do that. But I suppose I'm still at that point where I haven't got to that sort of stage. I mean, the other thing is the obvious thing from a business point of view is to say, well, I've got an audience of people that like craft beer, and I know the people that want to buy it. So I could either, if I'm not an affiliate, then maybe I could be doing something like that myself. So that's something that's an option. So there's lots of things.
Set up your own bottle shop. That sounds like it. There's no pitfalls there, is there?
No. Well, I mean, I go to a local bottle shop. I don't know. There's a new bottle shop. It's been local. It's in Bebington, but I mean, it's probably closer to you than it is to me. They've been going a year and they're doing really well. They're now setting up a tap room, and they've got
what are they called? Give them a name drop. What are they called?
Frost Bottle Shop. They're on the high street in Bebington on the Wirral. So,
fantastic. Yeah, they're setting up a tap room as well.
Yeah, well, he set up a tap room in Bebington as well that does more craft stuff with a publican who has a brewery type pub, and they're going to have a little sort of tap room as well. So, there's a good scene in. You wouldn't necessarily imagine it, but there's a good scene in Badminton. His shop's always busy, and he sells a lot of German beers and has a lot of craft beers. And I usually visit there once a week, and a lot of my reviews that's where I get my beers from, because it's good. You're supporting a local business, and you can have a chat with them about different beers and stuff like that, and it's pretty good actually, and the prices are good as well. I'll give them you can go to some places and you can, depending where they are, and you can be paying £7, and you can go to his place and you can pay him £4.50, and I've seen examples of that. So the beer prices are pretty good. If you're into craft beer, I definitely recommend it.
Do you get along to any beer festivals as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a few of them, and they're quite chaotic. I need to do more, and the trouble is I go to these beer festivals with an intention of either going live or doing some videos, and in the end I just get so into the drinking the beer, I just think, I've forgotten to do the video. So that is an issue really. I need to go there with me lights, and I have a selfie stick and do all the
or at least be wearing a branded shirt with your YouTube channel on it, or possibly have cards you can hand out, or QR codes you can stick on things, or maybe even put a sponsor in the magazine.
I've had people come up to me at the beer festivals and
oh,
you Rockers beer review. Oh yeah, I really like your channel. Yeah, I've seen your reviews and stuff. And that's sort of like, oh, am I famous? Well, I'm not, but you do get that little tingling feeling where you think, oh, someone's actually recognised me that I don't actually know who they are, but they're sitting there and watching me on the internet, sort of thing. So
well known in drinking circles. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I mean there is there is a sort of a craft beer channel people that you see at these festivals, and they're all sort of rotating around, and we all sort of know each other or know off each other, and there's ones that have been and gone. There's a lot of people started in lockdown, and then they thought, no, I can't do this anymore, it's too much work, I'm not enjoying it as much, and they stop. And then you get new ones coming up all the time, and you want to try and support them, and you do shout outs to each other in different ones. I don't do as much live stuff. There was a lot again, when people were spending all their time on the internet, weren't going out to real pubs, then we did more live drinking sort of stuff, where you just sit and talk about your beer, and you talk about what's going on in the world and all that sort of stuff, and you have 3 or 4 different craft beer channels talking, and you hopefully all help each other get more people looking at your videos and knowing about what you're about. But I need to do more of that sort of stuff now. But that's something that I used to do.
So it's like sitting with someone at the pub, basically. You're having a beer and you're talking about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean, that was the time when we weren't going to pubs and doing that. So,
Hmm.
you know what it was like in lockdown. People were doing like online quizzes with their mates and all that sort of stuff. And then as soon as we could go out again, it was a case of I don't want to be sitting in my little room drinking beer. We were looking at a tiny screen of you on that screen. I want to be actually going out and
Yeah.
getting the atmosphere of it. So there's less of that going on now than there was.
Hmm.
But there's still people. I mean, there's still a lot of people that got into craft beer and probably thought, well, actually, I don't want to drink normal beer anymore. And the sort of pubs that I and my mates go to, I'm getting the sort of, your normal suspects when it comes to lager and bitter, and that's about it. And the craft beer is minimal sort of thing. And
Hmm.
that's why it's great that there's more of these tap rooms that are opening up. I go, one of my little bars here in Chester is a bar called Bluestone. I don't know if you've heard of it. And it is almost like your front room, really. It's a small place. If it's got 15 people in it, it's packed. It's a small place, but it does craft beer, and it's got a nice atmosphere, and it's there's other people there, and it feels quite homely, and there's more of those sort of places that pop up all the time, really, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So outside of beer, then, outside of beer, you're also obviously a marketer or a marketeer. I'm not sure what the correct phrase for that is. So what? How did you get started in that?
Well, I mean, I've done marketing literally since I left university. I didn't do a degree in marketing, but I did. I've worked in marketing since '95 when I worked at NatWest as a marketing graduate.
Nice.
And then I did that for 3 years. I did my CIM diploma in 1998 when digital marketing wasn't even a thing. So
Mm.
there was no, I mean, the internet was sort of around, but the sort of CIM diploma was all about the marketing communication stuff that I did was all direct mail or on the page press or TV, radio, all that sort of stuff. Um, and, and so I worked in marketing, and then I've done various businesses where without marketing they wouldn't have probably got off the ground. So I ran a property company, an international property company, for a number of years, and it was driven purely by marketing. Because I'm not a real estate professional. I'm not a very good salesperson, I don't think. But I was using marketing to generate leads, and we were bringing people from all over the world to view properties from all over the world. So selling in Morocco and Cape Verde Islands and Florida and Cyprus and Turkey, everywhere basically, and Spain, of course. But then the credit crunch sort of had a little bit of a wobble with that. I then was doing even more marketing because we were basically generating so many leads that we were then providing doing lead generation for other clients, and we weren't actually relying on people buying property. We were just generating leads, so that worked pretty well. So, I've done other stuff that's marketing focused, like I built marketing focused apps for like restaurants and small businesses in the Chester area.
I think
And now I'm
that's when we met, isn't it? When you were doing the apps.
yeah, it's when we first met. So yeah, I did a number of apps, and then obviously COVID hit, and then now after running my own business for a number of 20 odd years, I'm an employee of a company, and I basically head up their marketing. We do a lot of I work for an IT company called CapNet, and we sort of just set up a marketing division because we were doing more marketing for our IT clients than we were for ourselves, really. And it got to the point where I thought, well, we've got the expertise and we've got the staff in. Let's do more of that. So we do pretty similar sort of stuff than what Engaged Web does. We do websites, we manage quite a number of social media accounts, we do email marketing management, SEO, pay-per-click, the whole sort of thing. We sort of go into businesses and we're almost like their outsourced marketing department, opposed to sort of doing it on a project by project basis across everything. Because there's a lot of businesses there's a lot of businesses that we found that did marketing, and then COVID hit, and then suddenly they didn't do any more marketing ever again. And it's like, oh, now they need to do it. You just need to look at their social media, and it's like, oh, your social media was quite good, and then in March 2020 it stopped. Why was that? Oh, I know why it was. And then, oh yeah, we had someone did that, and then they left, and then all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
we're getting companies back into doing marketing again, and looking at all the different channels that there are.
See, it's interesting what you say that a lot of companies were stopping their marketing during COVID. It's always a common thing, isn't it? That, oh, you need to make cost savings, you need to make reductions somewhere. What should we cut costs on? Marketing. Yeah, let's cut the costs on the thing that's going to bring the leads into the business, which is going to help us survive and grow. Let's not cut the costs anywhere else. Let's cut the costs on that. How have you found, I'm not sure if educating is the right phrase, convincing, talking to, leading them to the right decision that clients do need to be doing their social media again. They do need to be doing these things to grow their business. Have you found those discussions?
I think a lot of businesses are very open to it, but you know that in the industry that we're in, there's a lot of marketing agents, there's lots of web designers, but how much are they actually, everyone's had a bad experience, or we had we had a lot of clients come to us say, well, we want to do some stuff with our website, we actually want a new website, we had a web developer, but we don't know who they are and where they are anymore, sort of thing. So there's a lot of that. People want to understand what they can do, but there's also a lot of the industry generally has grown, and it's certainly grown in the time that I've been involved in it. In that, there's so many different channels, and there's people always coming to us and say, "We want to do the next shiny thing." I mean, you must, people are saying, "Oh, should we be doing podcasts? Should we be doing TikTok?" And you go, "Do you want to be on TikTok?" Oh, well, no, not really.
No.
I don't think you want to be doing TikTok. And they look at different channels and there's so much that they could spend their marketing budget on, but usually their marketing budgets aren't big enough. When I said to a client this week, well, what's your turnover? You should be spending 5 to 10% of that on marketing, and they were like shocked because they were probably not even spending 1% of it on marketing. So there's a lot of education, and it always starts with understanding the business and who their customers are and who they want to attract, not just to say, oh, my mate down the pub said I should be on Instagram this week because he's doing really well on it. And then they go, well, should I do that? And you go, no, because your audience doesn't go on Instagram. They're more on LinkedIn, for example. And so you there's a lot of education, I think. You know how important it is. You've got to educate them in terms of how they can make marketing work for them, instead of just throwing money at different types of marketing techniques and channels and not really getting anything out of them, not knowing what they want to get out of them as well.
No, that's a really common thing I see with businesses that come to us and say, oh, can you do our Facebook ads for us? It's like, well, yes, we can. But first of all, let's back up a little bit and see whether that's actually going to work for you before we say, yes, here's an invoice, let's do your Facebook ads. But I know there's a lot of agencies that will do that. There's a lot of freelancers that will do that. Somebody comes to them and says, I want to do Facebook ads. Oh, yes, sure, I can do that for you. Pay me this and we'll do it. And they're not even going to look at whether it'll work or not. And it just leads to them then spending money and it not working. And then them going around saying, well, Facebook ads is a load of shit, it didn't work, or SEO is a load of shit, that didn't work for me. It's like, no, because the person you used to do it didn't actually check whether it was going to work for your business. They just took your money and did it, and now you're going around saying the industry's crap. But it's the people. It's the people. Bad industry.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, you get a lot of people that are coming into it. I mean, I meet a lot of people, networking events, and they might know very well, they might know some of the techniques around SEO or Facebook ads and stuff like that, but they don't understand they don't understand marketing as such. They've not had that understanding of what actually is marketing and why a business needs that sort of marketing. As you said, that people go to them and they'll literally lead them and say, I want this because I've heard it's good, and they'll go, yeah, we can do that for you. And they'll go, yeah, we'll do it for them, and then it's not really right for their business. Or the worst thing is, when I was doing mobile apps, people come, oh yeah, I want a mobile app. Well, what do you want it to do? Oh, I don't know, I just want a mobile app, it sounds cool and stuff. And you go, well, let's have a look at what you're doing already. And sometimes I turn customers away. I say, well, I've looked at your website and I think you need to sort that out before you start even thinking about a mobile app, because, it's no good having a great app and then a website that's really poor and out of date and not mobile responsive. An amazing amount of people that came to me about apps because they didn't have a mobile responsive website. So it's understanding, and then I want to drive leads and I want to drive people into my website, and go, well, as soon as you might drive loads of leads into your website, but when they go into your website, they'll think, oh God, I'm not dealing with this company. So there's a lot of people got to understand the sort of the foundations of what they're doing before they start doing the what they think is the sexy stuff.
Yeah, I'm so glad you raised that as a point as well. That number of times I've had people come to us and say, I'd like you to do SEO for me, or even what sort of marketing can you do for me? What can you do to get me more business? And you'll look at the website and it will be absolute dog shit. Absolute dog shit.
Oh, you put it so much more eloquently than I could have ever done.
Because they've either built it themselves, or they've had somebody do it on Fiverr, or somebody's done it on Wix or whatever, or a child has done it for them, or a relative, and they think it's great because their friends have told them it's great, and their mum's told them it's great, therefore it's great. They don't need a new website because it's absolutely fine. How many leads have you had through it? Well, none. How much business have you had? Well, none. But I think if we pay for SEO and get more people to it, it's suddenly going to convert. No, it isn't. It's shit. You need a new website. I got into an argument with a potential client here once. Actually, they were a business on Cheshire Oaks. And they had a website that had been made by the son in Wix. And it was crap. And he was so offended. I didn't say crap to him, but he was so offended when I told him that we wouldn't do SEO for him because he's not going to get any return on investment for it. And I told him straight, there are people out there that will take your money and do SEO for you. They will exist, but you still will not get any business from it. And we're not going to be one of those people that's going to do it. So if you don't want a new website, either with us or with someone else, then we can't help you. And he did not like that at all. And some people just won't listen because they're so involved and so personal about the website they've got. They think it's brilliant. They don't need a new one. They just think SEO is a magic bullet or Google Ads is a magic bullet. And suddenly it's all going to work. That was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
Well, an interesting one, that I've had people say to me, well, we're doing a pay-per-click, and I was saying, well, I think you need to do we need to look at how you're generating lots of leads, you're generating lots of traffic to your site, but your site's not converting, for example. And they'll go, oh, but we've had 600 odd people come to our website, and it must mean that they're coming in on the wrong thing and they don't understand what that thing is. So surely everyone who's come onto my website should be filling in a form. But if they're not filling in a form, then maybe they shouldn't have clicked on the thing in the first place because of whatever reason. It's like if I could get 600 people come onto my website and all of them would fill in a form, I'd be the Mr. Magician guru sort of thing. It's like it doesn't work like that. There's so many different factors. But as you say, and that's the thing, people think, oh, well, if I'm spending so much on ads and it's going to generate me so many clicks and they're all coming to my website, then I'm going to get everyone that comes to my website is going to buy my product or service. And it doesn't work like that. And I go back to it again, it's about educating, because there's always someone that's come with this preconception of what they think is going to work and not work, even when they don't really understand marketing as such. And that's the thing that really annoys me, that everyone should be looking at marketing, but nobody really, they sort of look at it a little bit like, I don't know, posh. It's like sales. That's the thing that annoys me. Marketing is just sales, isn't it? And that's what they believe it is. And they don't realise there's lots of techniques, and it's not something that you learn overnight. I mean, I've been doing it for marketing for 30 years, and in the last year, I've learned so much new stuff, and it's like there's so much more that my brain can't bring everything in. I can't be an expert at every single thing. And so if you're a customer that doesn't even have that 30 years of marketing experience, they come in and they go, oh, I want to do that. Well, they say, I've got to do this because this is what's going to make my business be the next big thing. And it's like, it's not.
It's not.
I had one story I to quickly say about the
Go on.
app stuff you get all the time. People would come to me literally on a weekly basis and they would say, can you make me an app? And I go, well, what's your business? And they go, I haven't really got a business yet. I've just got this idea. This is going to be the next Facebook, or this is going to be the next eBay, or this is going to be Uber for skateboards and all this sort of stuff. And these ideas, people will come into me saying, I've got this idea about this business that's going to create. It's going to get 3D. You're going to photograph your arm when you've broken it, and it'll take all the dimensions and then make a plaster cast, and it will be delivered to you within 24 hours, and you can just stick it on somehow. And I was going, that's not going to work, sort of thing. And they think that if they've got this great idea, people are just going to buy it because it's so great. And I said, well, if you're going to spend X amount on your app, when it comes to actually marketing that app, you're going to spend at least 10 times the cost of that app. And they don't understand that concept is that, you can't just have a great product and people will just buy it. You've still got to get in front of the right people. And sometimes that's more difficult than coming up with a great idea in the first place.
Yeah, because I don't know what the percentage is. You might know, but there's the vast majority of apps just lie dormant, unused, undownloaded. Probably something like 95, 98% or something. It could even be higher than that. But people think, oh, get an app, that's it. Suddenly, everybody's going to have it and I'm going to go global. It doesn't work. I thought when you were starting that story, you were going to say that they come to me with this idea for an app. They can't afford to pay for the app. So what they do is say, Martin, let's go 50-50. You develop the app for free and we'll split the profits.
I could have gone both ways on that, and that would have been the other way I would have gone. Yeah, because I have had people doing that. Yeah, I said, "What's the budget?" Well, this is going to be the next big thing, and you're going to spend 6 months making this great app, and it's going to go viral, and they use those words. It's going to go viral. How's it going to go viral then? I don't know. It's just going to go viral. It's such a great idea, and everyone's going to want it. It's going to download. You're going to make all your money there, and it's like, no, I'm not going to make money. This is never going to take off. And the funny thing is that, and it's always the best thing that you get, because these people are so they have this great idea. They think it's the next best thing, and then you go, have you been on the App Store and looked at the apps that are on the App Store? And you go, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean? And you go, well, I think there's an app doing exactly what your latest, greatest idea already is, and it's been going a while. And they go, oh, I didn't know about that. And you think, when did you come up with this idea? And it's like, and I'm drawing this back to beer again, because beer is involved. It's like, oh, well, I was in the pub with my mate the other week, and we'd had a few beers, and we wrote this idea down on the back of a beer mat. And it's like, you haven't done any research, have you? Even though you want me to build this app for you, and you're going to give me half the money when it goes global or whatever. You haven't actually even looked to see if anyone else is doing it, or whether, one, there's a market, or two, if there is a market, who's dominating that. And they're thinking, oh, no one's come up with this idea. And of course, the idea is already out there.
Yeah. We get pitched that concept of, we'll go 50-50. Engage Web will build it and pay for it, and then it's their idea and we'll split the profits. We get pitched that usually about once a month by someone who thinks they've had this idea for the first time ever of, oh, let's go 50-50. If you're really confident in your ability to build the website, to do the marketing for it, then you obviously don't need to get paid up front, because you can get paid on results, surely. Yeah, what a brilliant idea. Let me list the 1,000 ways why that's not going to work. It was actually a financial advisor most recently pitched that idea to me, just across the road from us in the building. He came over, he was all excited, going to build this lead generation website for financial advice, and you're going to pay for it, and we'll split the profits. Fuck off. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's the way that something like that, they come up with this idea, and you think, well, if this idea is so great, and I'm going to be doing most of the work. In fact, actually, I'm going to be doing 100% of the work. You know what? If I think it's going to be so good, I'll go and do it myself. I'll become, I'll do that if that's going to be so great. Why do I need you there if I'm doing all the work? I get that all the time. People saying, "Oh yeah, this is going to be really great. You're going to do this, and this, and we won't pay you, but you'll make money." And you'll be thinking, "Well, if I'm doing that, I might as well just set up my own business doing it, because why would I need you?" Sort of thing.
What are you guys going to put in exactly? Yeah, If I was going to build a leads website for a financial services business, I wouldn't do it for Alexandra Beard over the road here. I'd do it for somebody like St James's Place, which is all over the UK. It's got much more reach. So, I don't need you guys if I was going to do that. By the way, I'm not going to do that, because do you know how competitive financial services is online? Do you know how expensive it is for PPC for that kind of thing? Jesus Christ. So...
But if you want to go 50-50 on making me the number one beer YouTube channel on the internet, then I'll give you half the money.
That's the £2.50 a month. Yeah, you're going to have to drink a lot more beer, I think, Martin.
Well, that's part of the budget, isn't it? But I need you to help me with that budget as well. If you,
so I've got to fund the beer, right? So in other words, if I buy you some beer, then you'll drink it and put it online.
Yeah, I'll have a T-shirt on that's got Engaged Web on if you want.
Sounds like a business model to me. Sounds like a business model
website,
to me.
All that stuff.
But as you just said, if I'm buying beer, I may as well drink it. Because, I feel like I want a beer now. I really do. And I'm sure anyone listening to this wants a beer. Anyone listening to this driving their car, don't have a beer right now. just got to say that there. Yeah. Unless you're a passenger, in which case, no, you still can't do that. Can't open carry stuff. Probably can't do that in the UK. Not that I've ever done that on the way down to football. So yeah, we're out of time now, mate. We're out of time. You've got beer needs drinking, no doubt. It's
I have. There's beer in my fridge and he's drinking and talking about on the internet. So yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, your throat's looking like it needs lubricating. So I will let you go and drink beer. But before we go. What if someone is listening to this and thinking this guy sounds brilliant? I want to watch him get drunk on the internet, or I want to work with him from a marketing perspective. What ways can people get in touch with you?
Okay, well, the YouTube channel is Rockers Beer Review. You just need to type that into YouTube or even Google, and I'll come up, and you'll see my smiley face and all those thumbnails. And in terms of marketing, the business is called CapNet Marketing. We're based in Birkenhead in the Wirral, so if you just do a search on CapNet Marketing, you'll find us as well. It's pretty straightforward.
Fantastic. It has been a pleasure speaking to you, although I am getting very thirsty for some reason. I don't know what it is. What beer would you recommend for someone who likes an IPA, probably a double IPA, to drink of a weekend or of an evening?
God, there's so many choices. I mean, I would say if you go to supermarkets, and I'll give you for those that. I've got it here. If you go to the supermarket, Sainsbury's supermarket, buy this one because it's the best beer you can get at a supermarket. It is a
Polly's just two bodies.
Just two bodies. It's a pale ale, 5.5%. So it's sessionable. And if you buy 4 of them, you get it for the price of 3. So you can buy 4 of them, and it's the right ABV.
Sold.
If you want a double IPA, track down. There's a hype beer that's out in January at the moment. It might not, by the time this goes out, you might find it difficult to get, although I have seen Beer Heroes say they've got some in. Putty by Verdant. It's a double IPA. They release it every year. The internet goes mad for it. And then we all drink it and go, yeah, it's a nice IPA, double IPA, but I've had lots of nice double IPAs. But it is good. It's worth drinking if you can track that down, and you can join the hype train of the most sought after beer of January. Really,
was that Putties? You say by Vernon?
Putty, yeah.
Putty by Vernon. I will look out for that one. I will get down.
And if you don't get it this year, and you're listening to this in the summer or at the end of the year, every January it's released. You definitely got to find it.
I will have a look at that. Martin, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, Darren. Cheers, mate.